Beyond Resilience, the Revolution Against Invisible Barriers. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a conversation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about workplace equity. Today, I have the extraordinary privilege of sharing insights from my recent interview with Julie Craig, a force of nature whose work has fundamentally transformed how we understand the Black professional experience in America. Julie isn't just an advocate. She's a revolutionary whose data driven approach to dismantling workplace barriers has created pathways to success for thousands of Black professionals across the country. Her methodology combines rigorous research with practical strategies that have helped countless individuals not just survive, but thrive in environments designed to exclude them. What makes Julie's work so powerful is her refusal to accept the status quo, her insistence that we can and must do better. What struck me most during our conversation was Julie's unflinching commitment to moving beyond surface level discussions about workplace discrimination. While many focus on individual incidents, Julie challenges us to see the bigger picture, the systemic nature of workplace inequity that continues to shape professional experiences for Black Americans. The numbers tell a sobering story that demands our attention. According to the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's 2024 annual report, there has been a 10% increase in racial discrimination charges, with 30,270 charges filed between October 20 to 23 and September 2024. Let that sink in for a moment. 30,270 formal charges in a single year. But these aren't just statistics. Each number represents a real human being facing bias in promotions, racial stereotyping in performance reviews, or culturally insensitive workplace practices. Each number represents dreams deferred, potential stifled, and dignity assaulted. What makes this trend particularly troubling is its timing. This spike is occurring alongside what Julie calls diversity fatigue across industries, with many DEI departments being quietly dismantled. This is happening at a moment when many believed we were making progress. The contradiction is stark and demands we reconsider how we measure true workplace equity. As Maya Angelou once said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. These numbers are showing us something important about American workplaces, and we need to believe what we're seeing. During our conversation, Julie emphasized three key insights that every Black professional should remember. First, documentation is protection. With racial discrimination charges rising, Black professionals must meticulously document workplace interactions, achievements, and instances of potential bias. This creates both a personal record and potential evidence if discrimination occurs. I'm reminded of the wisdom shared by Audre Lorde: your silence will not protect you. Documentation is the opposite of silence. It's creating a record that speaks even when you cannot. The second insight Julie shared is that community building creates resilience. Events like MelaninCon 2025 in Washington, D.C. demonstrate the power of intentional networking and professional development specifically designed for Black professionals. These spaces provide not just connections, but also strategies for navigating unique challenges in predominantly white workplaces. The third critical insight is that access to capital remains the greatest barrier to Black entrepreneurial success. Research consistently shows that differential access to financial capital is the largest factor explaining disparities between Black and white business outcomes. Understanding and addressing these systemic financial barriers is crucial for Black entrepreneurial success. Let me share some powerful stories that Julie discussed during our interview that illuminate these points. In October 2024, The EEOC released its annual report revealing a shocking 10% increase in racial discrimination charges filed by Black professionals. This wasn't just a statistical blip, it represented a systematic backlash against the diversity initiatives that flourished after 2020. As corporations quietly dismantled their DEI departments and diversity fatigue set in, Black professionals found themselves increasingly vulnerable to discrimination. Julie shared the story of Marcus, a marketing executive who meticulously documented every interaction, every achievement, and every instance of potential bias over 2 years. When he was passed over for promotion for the third time in favor of less qualified colleagues, his documentation became his salvation. The detailed records he kept allowed him to successfully challenge the decision and secure not just his rightful promotion, but also compensation for the opportunities denied. Organizations like BNX responded to these troubling trends by creating resources specifically designed to help Black professionals protect themselves. They developed documentation frameworks, legal resources, and support networks that have helped thousands navigate hostile work environments. The message is clear. In a world where the systems designed to protect you are being dismantled, your documentation becomes your armor. Julie also shared the inspiring story of Melanin Con, created by Donovan Woodbury in 2014. What began as a small gathering of Black professionals has evolved into a powerful annual conference in Washington, D.C., that attracts thousands. The conference doesn't just offer networking opportunities, it creates a space where Black excellence is not just celebrated, but actively cultivated. At last year's MelaninCon, 50 HBCU students received full scholarships to attend, connecting them with industry leaders who could mentor them and open doors previously closed. The Scholar Pitch Competition awarded $8,000 to exceptional HBCU scholars with innovative business ideas. These aren't just feel good stories. They represent the power of intentional community building to create pathways to success that circumvent traditional barriers. Julie also shared research from the National Bureau of Economic Research that revealed a startling truth. Black owned startups typically start smaller and stay smaller over their first 8 years, primarily due to lack of access to capital. Black entrepreneurs apply for loans less often than white entrepreneurs, largely because they expect to be denied credit, even when they have good credit histories. The story of Jasmine, a tech entrepreneur with an exceptional credit score and a groundbreaking business model, illustrates this reality. Despite her credentials, she was denied loans by 7 different banks before finally securing funding. Her white co founder with an identical business plan but presenting a loan received approval from the first bank he approached. This isn't just anecdotal, it's the lived reality confirmed by rigorous research. This research has helped shift the conversation from focusing solely on individual responsibility to recognizing the systemic barriers that prevent Black entrepreneurs from accessing the capital needed for business growth. As Julie emphasized, understanding these barriers is the first step toward dismantling them. I'm reminded of the words of Shirley Chisholm: if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. For many Black entrepreneurs, accessing capital isn't about being invited to the table, it's about building their own tables. But that requires resources that have been systematically denied. What makes Julie's approach so powerful is her emphasis on both individual strategies and collective action. Yes, documentation matters. Yes, building community matters. But we also need systemic change that addresses the root causes of workplace discrimination and barriers to entrepreneurial success. As we navigate these challenges, Julie offers an affirmation worth repeating daily. My documentation is my protection. My community is my strength. My persistence will overcome systemic barriers. The path forward requires both personal resilience and collective action. It requires Black professionals to protect themselves while also advocating for systemic change. It requires building businesses that model truly inclusive practices while also challenging institutions that perpetuate inequity. As Toni Morrison wisely noted, if you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. This is the essence of Julie's message, using individual success to create collective progress. So, where do we go from here? The data is clear, the challenges are evident, but the path forward requires more than awareness, it demands action. I challenge each of you today to move beyond passive consumption of these realities to active participation in their transformation. Document not just for your protection, but for the record of history. Build community not just for your resilience, but for collective power. Fight for access to capital, not just for your business, but for the economic liberation of generations to come. The 10% increase in discrimination charges isn't just a statistic to be analyzed, it's a call to arms. Each of those 30,270 charges represents a story that deserves to be told, a wrong that demands to be righted, and a system that needs to be reimagined. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you retreat into the comfort of inaction, or will you join the revolution of small actions that together create seismic change? Document, connect, advocate. These aren't just strategies for survival, they're weapons in the arsenal of transformation. They're the tools that will help us build a world where Black excellence isn't just recognized but rewarded, where opportunity isn't just promised but delivered, where equity isn't just discussed but realized. The revolution won't happen in grand gestures alone. It will happen in the meticulous documentation of daily injustices. It will happen in the intentional building of supportive communities. It will happen in the persistent demand for equal access to resources. It will happen when each of us commits to being not just witnesses to inequality, but warriors against it. So I ask you today, what is your role in this revolution? What documentation will you create? What community will you build? What barriers will you help dismantle? The future of workplace equity isn't just in the hands of policymakers and CEOs. It's in your hands. It's in the choices you make, the stands you take, and the changes you demand. The time for passive observation is over. The time for transformative action is now. Join us in moving beyond resilience to revolution. The world we seek to create is possible, but only if we have the courage to build it together. Thank you.